Welcome to Tony at 12. I'm Tony LeBlanc, and today I'm in conversation with retired Aurigny Chief Pilot Ralph Burridge, who's going to let us have his views on the current Alderney aviation situation. As ever, good to see you.
Good to see you, Tony.
Ralph, can we,
Eventually.
for the benefit, well, no, you're not supposed to say that, for the benefit of the wider audience, can we talk about the origins of Aurigny and how it all came about in the first place? And can we see a bit more of your
Well,
chin?
yeah, I mean, you've done a few notes here because, of course, really, we were in the middle of no man's land, and Sir Derek Bailey decided to put a company together, basically just to do Alderney, Guernsey, and at that time Jersey, and occasionally stretching to Bournemouth, using islanders as virtually a walk-on bus stop service. And that was really how it all
How
started.
it all started.
And
And
from then it developed on upwards
yeah.
at that time.
Now, interesting about Sir Derek, because apart from being an aviator, he was also a first class cricketer and played for Gloucestershire. And
Did he?
I have to say that he got 111 at Hove on one occasion, which was a bit, from my point of view, a bit sad because I'm a Sussex supporter. But there we are. Any idea how he funded it, how he got the money together? Because you
No,
know,
I really don't. I mean, he was either involved or something to do with Gloucester at Bournemouth,
mhm,
and that's where the initial aeroplane came from. But other than that, I really don't know. I mean, I sort of came in 1979, 1980,
yeah,
when it has already moved up to people like Tor Line Shipping and this sort of thing.
yeah,
Um, and obviously that was commercial funding in the background. But
yeah.
how he managed to put it all together from nothing to that stage is a bit too early for me. I can only say, I'm not plugging a book, but Edward Pinniger did a very good book on the aviation in Alderney, and I think most of the questions on that score can be found in that book. I don't know whether it's still in publish, or you may have to go down to the jumble sales to see if you can find one, because it's a good read and worth having in your library.
Yeah, he's good author on matters aviation. Edward, yes.
Yes, he was. I mean, he did a research. I mean, why he chose really, I don't know. I think it was a good research project that he had access to all the various people and bodies locally, and he built up a very good reputation on it. And he's
And
done
of,
another couple of books right since.
and of course he had family here, didn't he?
Sorry?
He had family here, so that was probably an
Oh
added
yes, yes,
yeah
yeah. He had.
incentive.
I think they've all now moved off,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, he still has good ties with the island.
Okay, Ralph. So you joined them in 1979, and
I
at that
did.
time, twin otters could be flown solo.
Well, we were just only a technical interruption. At that particular time, 79, I joined. We were flying Trilanders and Islanders, and it wasn't until maybe a year or so later that the Twin Otter appeared on the scene. But as you so rightly say, it was a single crew operation. I mean, the aeroplane is still licensed for single crew. It's international legislation that's made it difficult, certainly within the UK,
Yeah,
because
that's
it's got
always
two
the way.
turbines, therefore it has to have two pilots.
But presumably, if you're out in Africa or something like that, it's just one guy that controls, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the normal operation from it. I mean, it's an aeroplane that is created for what I think is locally known as hostile environments. It'll go anywhere
Mm,
and do anything you want it to do.
mm.
It's a wonderful aeroplane. Um, all right, they seem to be having a little bit of, or Skybus seems to be having a little bit of problem with it, but that's to do, I think, with the tie-up, which we may have a time about later.
I think we'll get to that eventually. But tell me about the size of the fleet when you joined. There were quite a few
Well,
planes around.
when you joined, or when I was joined, I think at that time we had. nine islanders, I think, three Thailanders. No, sorry, three islanders and nine Thailanders.
Yeah,
Um, a short 360, a Saab 340, and of course later on the two twin otters.
yeah,
And very useful they were too. I mean, the otter, I would say, broadly speaking, did everything the Highlander did, only better.
yeah.
But, but at that particular time, turbine temperatures and internal maintenance schedules meant that it really wasn't quite that suitable for going backwards and forwards every 15 minutes between Jersey and Guernsey. So eventually, I presume, because it was Aurigny's money and not the taxpayers' money,
Mm,
the only thing you could do was to dispose of them, sadly. But
yeah.
they've learned the error of the ways. The engineers have improved everything. Metallurgy has improved. The time cycle has improved. So they're back on the road again.
With the Trilander, Ralph, I think I'm right in saying that Sir Derek had a bit of a connection with Britain Norman and was actually able to influence the development of the Trilander from the Islander.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was, bearing in mind that at that time you had airplanes with either single pistons, two pistons, or four pistons, and really what you wanted was something in the middle that would take sort of the maximum of 19 seats, because that's all to do with area control licensing, but it didn't need four, so they went to this business of making it for three. And of course, if you look at it, I know there's one or two technical differences, but if you get hold of an Islander and you stick another 3 meters or something, or 6 meters in the middle, you've got a Islander, and
Yeah,
you just stick an engine on the tail.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it doesn't take rocket science to put it all together, but it does take a clever little firm to actually produce it.
yeah.
And it was very, very popular worldwide for years and years and years.
But unfortunately, I think they've ceased trading, have they? Or they've gone into a bit of a
Well,
decline.
Britain Norman are back in business again, producing islanders. Um, it was sad in a way because it was a British development, all British done,
Mm,
uh, and of course, whatever the government of the day was, now I don't know which it was, but they finished up finishing the bits and painting them in England, but the things were built in either Manila or Gosselies in Belgium, and they got all the money, and we got the aggravation. But
that's the
that's
way it is.
commercial.
Yeah.
That's the way commercial this is run these days.
Now, prior to the nationalisation, when states of Guernsey took over Aurigny, I don't think Aurigny ever went to the government for any money, did they?
No, no, I can honestly say that from the time I am aware that it started, it never cost the taxpayer a single penny, not one. And of course, the additional bonus at that time was that everybody was locally employed. You didn't have to go to Fiji to make a booking. Everybody paid local taxes, and everything that was here stayed here, was paid here, and taxed here.
Yeah.
So it was a full inter-island economy job.
But with
No problems with that.
a lot of emphasis on Alderney, though, in terms of providing the operations and the bookings and everything else, the reservations, yeah?
Oh yes, the reservation here. The building is still up at the airport, which we used to use, and it was self-contained. It had its operations department. Everything was here. If you uh, if you wanted to have a look at the weather and see whether it was worth going to Guernsey, all you did was walk to the end of the cabin and look out the window, and, and that was the sort of operations department. Now, of course, it's people in Gatwick who tell you whether you can go or not, and all they're looking at is a piece of paper. So
Yeah,
it's not quite the same.
no,
It's
no.
lost the personal touch, sir.
Yeah, very much so. Having said that, the staff that at the coalface are wonderful, even in this day and age.
I would go along with most of certainly those here
Yeah,
do a grand job
and
because
Southampton. Yeah,
they're taking a lot of butt kicking, but I think fortuitously the local people also appreciate that it isn't their problem.
absolutely.
Whereas you go to a big airport, the fella behind the desk or the lady behind the desk, it's all her fault.
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
get sick. And if they get sick, they get grumpy. And then they're regarded as, oh, not very friendly.
yeah,
But certainly the people we got here, people we got at Southampton, are very, very good service people.
absolutely. So tell us about why it was nationalised in 2003. Why is it the states of Guernsey took it over?
Well, I think in principle, it was all about protecting the Gatwick route. They were concerned about that. I mean, they finished up setting themselves up as a closed sky policy, which of course gives them a monopoly. So they own the airport, they own the sky, they own the airline, which means they can do anything they like without reference to anybody else. It's purely a solo organisation, unlike most airports in the UK
Yeah, and
and in the world, really.
yeah, Jersey's an example of open skies, isn't it? Jersey.
Yeah, Jersey's open skies, and I mean, roughly in principle, if if you want to apply to fly in and out of Jersey, they apply to the authority who do the necessary fiscal checks and financial checks, and if they cannot see any reason why that company should cause any problems at all, they will say, yes, that's all fine, and then Jersey will offer them a route.
But
When it comes to Guernsey, that is not the case because they use the Civil Aviation Authority as an advisor, but in actual fact, it's the Royal Court that makes the final decision. And they, with respect, don't know a lot about aeroplanes, but they advise the state's committee, who own the airline, who also, with respect, don't know a lot about airlines, but who appointed the airline as its their advisors. So it's a little bit of a tight-knit circle that is slightly biased.
trouble is though, Ralph, if you own it and you have a closed sky policy and everything else, you ultimately pick up all the problems, don't you? You know,
Yes, you do.
If
You do.
EasyJet can't get into Jersey, well, Jersey will just shrug. If Aurigny can't get into
Yeah,
Guernsey, it becomes a major problem.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And of course, you've got that old adage, you've seen it recently, where Blue Island went to the wall, only owning 7 million, which is cheap compared with Aurigny,
Mm,
um, um, but they couldn't get licenses in and out of Guernsey because Guernsey closed shop policy, closed, closed skies policy. No is the answer. What's the
mm.
question?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So you could never get Logan Air in here other than a code share with Aurigny.
So the
A bit of
airlines,
imbalance there in.
yeah, the airline goes regional. It starts going to Manchester, it goes to Birmingham, London, etc., etc.,
Yeah.
etc. And from that point on, it seems to me, as a mere observer, that they start incurring losses. Is that a fair comment?
Yes. Yeah, I think it would be a fair comment to say they overstretched with ambition
Yeah,
and they didn't have the finance to cover it. And of course, it meant that they also had to involve themselves in a tremendous amount of wet leasing, which is a very, very expensive way of operating an airline.
yeah.
Because not only have you got to pay for somebody else's aeroplane and somebody else's crew, you've got to pay for your own sitting there watching. So it's not the best way of doing it. It's sometimes in emergencies, it's the only way of getting yourself out the mire. But as a general operation, you don't do it just because I don't going to go to Barcelona this weekend. We'll wet lease an airplane. Doesn't
Mm,
work.
yeah. I mean,
Not financially anyway.
fast forwarding to 2026, just to let the audience know, the losses that they made in 2025 are £6.3 million as per the BBC, and in
Yeah.
2024, 6.5 million, all covered by the taxpayers.
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, I think it was one of your not one of your states members, one of Guernsey states members, who put it down in black and white ink that over the time that they've taken over, the actual black hole pot of taxpayers' money has got in total, including guarantees and everything else, up to something like 140 million.
That's a
That's a
lot of
lot of
money.
money.
Yeah, yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
money, especially as it's not theirs.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we get to a situation where the Dorniers, we had a couple of Dorniers, they're phased out. Two Twin Otters
Yeah,
come in, and
yeah,
it doesn't correlate with what we were told in the first place, that we were going to have two Twin Otters all the time in all Aurigny livery, flown by Aurigny pilots, with the promise of Skybus backup whenever necessary.
yeah.
Hasn't
And
worked, has it?
when, when, when you actually look at the situation with Skybus operating a very similar service to that which we were wanting to do with the Twin Otters, um, with no, at that time, no pilots at all on the Aurigny fleet that could fly a Twin Otter, it's it's almost like a disaster pinned to the wall. But it was so obvious that it was going to happen because we used to talk about it a lot because we
Hmm.
said, well, they haven't got the crew to do their own. Now they want the same crew to do two airlines of the same type. And this is before they start their summer schedules in April or whatever it was. And they, like us, want to expand, but they've nowhere to expand because they've only got their own pilots. We haven't got any. Now, is there's a rumor on the street that we might be having an interest from a couple, but pilots, but that doesn't make it work. You can't put an aeroplane anywhere with two pilots. You've got to have a lot more than that to crew an aeroplane.
Y-
And the only reason I say that is because if you do happen to ever get Aurigny-based pilots, and you can get one of the Twin Otters up here, you're back to the sort of system that we used to have on the airbeds and the medivacs
Yeah.
with the airplane here. Because whatever anybody says, however smart they think it is, you cannot get a medivac service to operate to get the patient from where they are to the hospital within that 1 hour window if you've got to bring the aeroplane from somewhere else to here. It just
Like,
cannot ever work.
and we got to remember,
Now,
of course, that, yeah,
I
carry on.
know that they've done protocols about, oh, well, it's supposed to have this and it's supposed to have medical people, but protocols are always movable feasts if you have a good argument.
Yeah.
The protocol or similar one was in place when we used to do it, but we got around it because we always took the doctor and a nurse with us. So
Yeah.
that satisfied their protocol. And when we came back to Alderney, we brought them back with us because
Yeah.
then handed them over to the ambulance. Everything, everything that's put down as a protocol or a recommendation is always variable if you put a good case for it,
Mm.
like your grass runways, which I know we're going to talk about in a minute.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. It's just crazy, and I mean, I can't help feeling that if you've got the engineering base in Land's End, which is a hell of a distance from Guernsey and Alderney, or even
Yeah,
Southampton, it's
yeah,
boundary delays, aren't there?
yeah, yeah. But it's one of the uh, if the original plan, as it was put down, as you said, to get the Twin Otters, and eventually wet lease them, and eventually have your own two dedicated with Aurigny crews flying Aurigny schedules with Aurigny pilots in the Aurigny flight manual, then you're talking about a separate little airline.
Mm,
But we haven't got it. And we
no.
can't have it because we haven't got the personnel to do it. We're
I was
spread too
speaking.
thin again.
Yeah, I was in touch with our good friend Maurice White the other day. Maurice is a
Yeah.
good mate, and we swap emails from time to time. He reckons the infamous G-net has been seen in the sky.
Well, yes. I mean, not only has it been seen, it's actually been here.
Good heavens!
I think I won't put a date on it because I may not have seen it, but certainly I saw it about 3 days ago.
Yeah,
It's still plain white. It's
right.
nothing to do with the colours, and it was here. Um, but one has to remember, I suppose, that the speed at which these things go, because it's the first time it's been here. I think once before, when we had a conversation similar to this, I was expressing dismay that as it had been registered, that it had never been here as the Aurigny flagship.
Mm,
I think that was the thing I used. But bear in mind that what are we, the 14th? Probably about the 11th, I think, is when I saw it here. But it went to blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to think. And I've lost my way as to
don't worry,
where it was
don't worry.
based. But anyway, it's been in the
It
UK.
has been seen. It's a bit like a bird, a rare bird. People sort of flock to go and see
Yeah,
these rare birds up trees. It's a bit of an
that's right.
infamous
But
aeroplane.
it moved to Land's End on the 7th of October this year.
Right. Okay.
So
Okay.
what it's been doing between October and here, I wouldn't like to hazard a guess.
Just
And
for
nobody.
clarification, GNet stands for Gannets, doesn't it? Well, that's the
Gannett,
idea.
that's right.
Yeah. Of
Gannett,
which we're
Gannett rocks,
famous. Yeah.
of
That
which we are
public
famous.
forum that I went to, you know, no tangible improvements, loads of promises, but no tangible improvements. And of course, we recently have discovered that the Skybus CEO has resigned due to the dissatisfaction of the Scilly, I can't say this, the
Yeah,
inhabitants of the Scilly Isles over the
yeah,
fact that their service has gone down the drain.
yeah. I mean, I probably, like most people, assumed that they probably wouldn't be too happy, but it was only when you watched BBC Southwest or Cornwall or wherever it was that you could see exactly the same complaints and moans and groans from the City Eyes customers that
Mm,
we had here.
mm,
And it's not surprising because you had the same problem. You're
yeah.
trying to spread two airlines, make two airlines out of one, when you've only got crew to supply one. It would never work and never will. Not
Guernsey
doing that.
Guernsey Press reported on the 4th of July, Skybus admits it was not ready for Alderney. Well, we can see
Well,
that, can't we?
it wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, some of the training was done online. They were behind the eight ball, it's a phrase, behind the eight ball before they even started,
Yeah.
and they could never catch up. And some people didn't like some of their aircrew didn't like flying here, um, because the cities are flat, and they didn't like the cliffs, didn't like the cliffs and things like that. But I mean, this is, either you're a pilot or you're not.
Mm.
And if you're given an airplane and you know how to fly it, where it goes doesn't matter too much,
Yeah.
providing it is capable of doing it.
So,
It's just it's been chaos from the word go, and as you so rightly say, you get these meetings, and what you get is Nicker Babel and his little um, media team. They go and have a quiet meeting with the states of Guernsey. They have a quiet meeting with the states of Alderney, and they tell them, and everybody comes out smiling and thinking it's all resolved, but nothing ever happens.
no.
Yeah, it's that's why I'm referring into a nickel babble because all it is babble. Nothing that ever said at these meetings is anything other than babble.
Babble. So,
And
Ralph,
unfortunately, our own states members are worse because they listen to the babble, they spread the babble, knowing that as two representatives, they might as well not bother with the states of Guernsey because it doesn't make any difference what they think.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, having seen the departure of the Skybus CEO, do you think the Aurigny CEO is in an untenable position at the moment?
Well, well, it's funny you should raise that because I was wondering about that the other day. I mean, there's no guarantee, of course, that the Skybus went, but I would imagine, like you, a good assessment of the situation probably would be that you know their natives are as annoyed as our natives are,
Yeah,
and the steamship company that owns Skybus probably got fed up with what was going on, and they decided to part company. Um, what I would be interested, although nobody is ever going to tell us, is what sort of contract Nico is under or on that allows somebody like him, who already has made a bit of a catastrophe with Mango Airways and things like this, to still be in post after such an abysmal performance. But it seems that there doesn't seem a way of getting rid of him.
mm,
There may be, I don't know, but
yeah.
everybody
Perhaps,
is
perhaps they
in their
don't want to
little.
get rid of him, Ralph. Perhaps the
Well,
states of Guernsey want to retain him.
but you're much in the you've been in business yourself. If that was if you had the option of having that particular person sitting in that chair and making such an abysmal effort at running an airline and using that amount of taxpayers' money to support it, I don't think you'd have kept him in post.
Well, I think
I certainly
the
wouldn't.
Tony airline would have gone bust, wouldn't it? Because it wouldn't have had
Well,
any government support. So,
you just wonder why it is
yeah,
that he's still there,
yeah,
because he's been an expert at getting things wrong.
yeah, 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 yeah. There we are. Let's get on to agricultural matters, Ralph. The grass runways.
Agriculture.
Yeah, the grass runways.
Well, strange enough, Tony, I was looking at a piece of correspondence from our old friend Tony Array, Colin Array,
Yeah.
going back to 2012, um, where we they once went through this process before of wanting to close the grass runways, but we managed to convince them, with, believe it or not, Aurigny's support, that they shouldn't be closed because they were not only good economics for the airline, but they were also the only um, emergency alternate airport within the whole of the Bay of St. Malo between England and Dinard and Rennes.
Yeah.
And for that reason, they were to be kept open. They were licensed. The long one for night and day had battery lights, and the short one was for license for day only.
Hmm.
Um, the reason that it saved money, of course, was if you're coming from Southampton and it's you've got load, you instead of going halfway to Cherbourg back, you can just keep going straight down the breakwater and land it,
Yeah.
or you can go over Peru and come in the other end on the saving of fuel is quite phenomenal
Yeah.
over a year if you're allowed to use it. Now, we always use it right up until the Dorniers arrived, and then they could not use it. So I think, being a little bit cynical, we can save a bit of money here by lowering the standard of the maintenance. Um, and then what you finish up with is two grass strips that you are allowed to use if you're flying a private aeroplane,
Yeah.
but not if you're flying a commercial aeroplane. So, If you're private, you can kill yourself if you're private, but you can't kill yourself if you bought a ticket, you see. So that is in line with the sort of recommendations. But if you apply to have those recommendations reconsidered for a particular type of aeroplane, then you will stand a chance of getting that particular runway back into commercial use. And it's in good shape for something like the Twin Otter, who is built, as I said before, for hostile environments. And that is as smooth as a baby's bottom compared with places like Barra and the Hebrides, where
Yeah,
it's landing on beaches and sand piles and everything else. But they have done exactly the same. The regulations that they wanted to apply are the same, but somebody says, look, we have this sort of aeroplane. It's perfectly good on this. It's perfectly safe on that. You can prove, if you can prove that it's safe to operate, they will give you an exemption. I mean, after all, it's not rocket science because the main runway that we got is too narrow and we've been operating that on an exemption for years.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Is there any news about the fuel facility? Because this was another argument Aurigny put. If they had a fuel facility and were able to top up here, the service should improve.
That is always likely. There's two things that could improve the service. One, of course, is that if the aeroplanes were operated by Aurigny with Aurigny crew,
Mm.
it would no longer be a wet lease, and you could use their Aurigny's flight operations manual, which means you could take the dog box out and put two seats back in.
Yeah,
So there's one problem solved for a start.
yeah,
And the fuel is another one which was originally existing. We had Michaelides who had it up here, and then we had Rubis who had both jet fuel
yeah,
and gas. And both decided when they had a storage facility problem that it was uneconomical to do. Um, Now, there's argument, which I think I would go along with to start with, that um, the States of Alderney is the main or one of the main shareholders in Alderney Electricity.
yeah,
And if Alderney wanted to support the airline and get the service better, they could help by ensuring that perhaps we can get hold of some fuel via Alderney Electricity.
yeah.
I know it's not economical, but it's better than nothing.
Well, it's a public service, isn't it? That's the point.
Yeah, it's a public service.
Yeah,
I mean, the number of light aeroplanes that used to come here has dropped to an abysmal amount compared with what it used to be. It used to be a big deal. You used to come here, pick up some duty free, which is now a joke.
yeah.
Would you buy gin about 40 something quid a bottle? No, you wouldn't. Um, um, you can't get any fuel. It doesn't make it worthwhile coming here anymore. They're virtually discouraging you to go to Guernsey. It's
Are the
it's
states
scary.
are the states members doing enough? Are they banging the table enough to try and rectify all this?
Well, the fuel situation, they may be able to bang.
Yeah.
I think if they bang the table on anything else, they might as well use a rubber hammer
Mm.
because, with respect to their efforts, I don't think those people that really matter in the aviation business are really concerned what they think too much.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
they express it, but they know that with just two representatives, they're on a minority, and it doesn't really matter. It's sad, but it's
It's
true.
true. It's true. But it's got to be solved because until we get proper connectivity, the economy is going to continue to spiral down.
And it's spiraling down very fast. I
Yeah.
think it's fine. You know, people just don't have the the money to pop out for a drink to see in every evening like they used to.
Mm.
You can remember when you used to walk up Victoria Street and all the pubs were heaving.
Yep.
Now you walk up, at about 9:30, and some of them are even closed. And we've lost enough pubs closed because they're not viable anymore. Shops are shutting down. Um, I noticed the one that took Richards, can't remember the name of it, but
Yeah,
that
they've
one's
moved.
now
Yeah,
gone
that's empty
again.
again. Yeah,
I take my hat off to anybody that's got the nerve to open up and start a business in this present environment.
yeah.
But
No, you're right.
I'm afraid the result was probably fairly predictable, but at least the bloke had a try.
Yeah, very much so.
There's nothing worse than a street full of empty windows.
No, this is true.
It puts the wrong thing on. But the 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 passenger disruption is what is virtually killing the arrival of people that have been here for years and
Mm,
years and years. You
yeah.
know, never before have you been able to get rooms in Alderney week.
No,
This
unheard of.
close.
Unheard of.
Unheard of.
Yeah.
Absolutely unheard of. It's
Well,
just,
yeah.
it's a disaster.
Now, I'm
I
sorry, we've
mean,
run out. We've run out of time.
oh,
It's
I'm
been,
sorry about that.
that's all right. Don't
That was a
worry. It's
shame.
been very interesting, very entertaining, and much appreciated. So we'll have another one later on in the year, I expect.
There's always something to talk about when it comes to aviation, Tony.
Take care, Ralph. Thank you so much. Cheers.
That's a pleasure.